Tonight, government gives the latest look into the province's finances.
There is no additional monies available to give back to the people of the province.
Spending is up and oil revenue is down in the province's latest fiscal update.
The time to tackle the housing crisis in Gander is now, says a local developer.
Yes, we hear about it in the news in larger centres that crisis this and emergency that, but we're facing that here in Gander as well.
The problem? There's just not enough land. We'll have that story tonight on Here and Now.
Well, it's starting to get busy down here. Finally, Halloween night. I'm in live from Georgetown, where we're expecting a flash mob to develop very shortly. We'll talk about that, and I'll have the full forecast coming up.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. The province delivered a fall update on its finances today. The deficit is pretty much the same at $154 million, but the province says the economy is doing well. So is that enough for government to help you with the cost of living? Here and Now's Peter Cowan is here to break it down for us. So Peter, what did they say?
Well, Carolyn, there's no $500 checks like there were last year. In fact, today's update, the finance minister didn't unveil any new help for people struggling with rising prices. Instead, she talked about what they've already done. The reason there's no extras, well, oil revenues are actually down compared to what they expected.
There is no additional monies available to give back to the people of the province. We've already providing over $500 million in terms of cost of living benefits back to the people of the province. So last year we had extra money from the oil and gas industry. This year we're not seeing that.
The key numbers that we got today. So starting with 10.1, this is the expected unemployment rate this year. That actually, if it comes through, will be the lowest ever recorded in the province since they started taking a look at that in the 1970s. The next number is 3.4%. That's the inflation rate in this province, tied with second lowest actually in the country after PEI. And even though people are paying more, household income is up 4.4%. So people are actually earning even more than the extra that they're paying. And when it comes to retail sales in the province, they're up as well, 4%. So people are spending more. If the economy is doing well, why aren't households feeling it? Well, we put that question to the finance minister as well as to opposition politicians.
We've seen inflation quite high. We've seen challenges in housing, in the housing sector. So those are impacting all of us day to day. But I can tell you that the economy, and this is based on a good economic analysis, our economy is strong.
Their household income may be up, but I suspect, and I would say that their actual expenditures are up significantly more. When you look at the statistics around food costs, when you look at the statistics around gasoline prices.
The people who call, our calls have gone up. They're not doing so well. If you're talking about corporate profits, yeah, okay, fair enough, they're doing well. But in the end, it's the people who are living in their, trying to go about their lives, living in their homes, trying to raise a family, trying to enjoy their retirement, you name it. Those are the ones that we've got to focus on.
Now, the one economic number that was not good today is the number of new homes being built. Housing starts are down 35% compared to last year. The province is hoping that its 5-point housing plan, released earlier this month, will turn around that trend. Carolyn?
Thanks so much, Peter. That's Here Now's Peter Cowan reporting live. Well, Premier Andrew Furey is heading to Labrador to offer apologies to residential school survivors on the North Coast. Over the next 3 days, Furey will stop in every community in Nunatsiavut, starting with Rigolette and Postville tomorrow. But there will be two notable people absent from those events. One of them is Torngat Mountains MHA Leela Evans. The NDP member was not invited. It's a move she calls disappointing.
Well, I don't think it's an oversight because I am the MHA for Torngat Mountains. So normally the MHA would be included in such an important occasion. So I think the Premier maybe should be the one to answer that question. But like for me, it's so important, this apology. So many residential survivors have passed away. They will never ever get to hear the apology done, and they acknowledge the harms done to them. And I guess, so they'll never get to receive that apology and be able to accept that apology.
Now, Premier Furey wasn't in the House of Assembly today to answer questions, but the Premier's office says it didn't invite anyone to the apologies. The other notable absence will be Indigenous Affairs and Reconciliation Minister Lisa Dempster. Now, the Innu Nation and Nunatsiavut called for her removal after the Premier apologized to members of Nunatuavut last month. Neither group considers Nunatuavut an Indigenous group, and Dempster is a member. She says even though it's important for the Indigenous Affairs Minister to be there for the apologies, she has work to do in the House of Assembly.
It is absolutely very important, but as I said, it was the former Premier that made the commitment, and it is this Premier that will be there, and I have been very involved up to this point in helping to get the file to this stage where it is today.
The RNC is continuing to search for a teenager who's been missing for 3 weeks. 15-year-old Liam Tripp was last seen in the area of St. Clair Avenue, in St. John's on October 13th. Tripp is described as being about 6 feet 5 inches tall and 180 pounds with blue-green eyes and light brown hair. It's the 4th time this year that Tripp has been reported missing. The RNC are concerned for his well-being and asks anyone with information to contact police. Well, while the exemption of home heating oil from the carbon tax applies nationwide, it especially benefits Atlantic Canada. 30% of homeowners there still use oil to heat their homes. Earlier today, Labour Minister Seamus O'Regan responded to criticism that the move is unfair to the rest of the country.
We're just trying to tackle a problem. In the same way that we're trying to tackle the problem of coal, as we did out west, and we're going to try and continue to do with maritime provinces. I just find it a bit rich that everybody is just getting so excited about carve-outs and exceptions and particularities to regions. That's how this country was built. In Newfoundland and Labrador, rate mitigation because of Muskrat Falls is something that dictated our politics for the better part of 10 years. I'm happy that we were able to get a $5.2 billion deal for Newfoundland and Labrador ratepayers to make sure it did not happen on their backs. And I also know that in the research that we did and the data that I saw, it does not take much of a rate increase to throw, in my province, tens of thousands of people below the poverty line. Not on my watch.
All right, it's time to check in with Ashley Brawweiler, who's out on this Halloween evening in the Georgetown area. And my goodness, Ashley, there are a lot of people out there tonight.
Yeah, the cool temperatures certainly didn't scare anybody away tonight. We saw that snow earlier today. Not much of a trace down here in Georgetown. We're at the corner of Maxine Hayward at the moment. Lots of people gathering, getting excited for what will be a flash mob. Now, this has been going on under Laura Beth for about 10 years. A Neighborhood Dance Works has been doing this, though, for about 13 or 14 years. And I know last year there were lots of people here and lots more gathered tonight. Now, you don't have to have any dance experience at all to do this. There are lots of people anywhere from 5, 6, 7 years old. And it's just a lot of people gathered to have, lots of fun, right up to seniors, it looks like, that will participate this year. That's for sure. Like I said, the weather is looking absolutely beautiful. Our temperatures are a bit cool at the moment. We're only sitting about 2 degrees. I've got the warmest clothes I've had on for a while, that's for sure. But we are looking at those temperatures staying fairly chilly through the night tonight. And then eventually we are looking at some more rain on the way as we head into, tomorrow, and then eventually some more snow will be on the way as well. So for now, though, we're looking at lots of people gathered, starting to warm up, it looks like. All right, I think everybody's starting to get excited now. They're gonna hit this and we're gonna watch. So as you can see, lots of people gathered having a lot of fun tonight. We do have some weather to talk about. Like I said, special weather statement in effect. We'll get into all the details when I come back.
Thanks so much, Ashley. Looks like a great time there tonight in Georgetown. Some great costumes there, my goodness. Okay, we're going to take you to Labrador now. The RCMP there is investigating a fire that destroyed a bar in Happy Valley Goose Bay. Police and fire crews responded to Crazy Dave's on Hamilton River Road shortly after 1 this morning. The bar was closed at the time and no one was in the building. The RCMP says it is a suspicious fire and Provincial Fire Services is helping with the investigation. And the town of Gander is looking at developing some of its green space as the community deals with the housing crisis. Opponents say it's the wrong move, but not everyone is against the idea. Here and Now's Troy Turner reports.
Mark Eady calls the housing situation in Gander troubling, something that needs to be addressed now, not in a few years.
You know, yes, we hear about it in the news in, larger centers that, crisis this and emergency that, but we're facing that here in Gander as well.
Eady and his wife are in the real estate business and own a property management company. He recently attended a public meeting where most people were against rezoning local green space to build housing.
I think that this here is a boom. I think this is a mistake.
I agree, absolutely. And it's nice to have everybody here.
But Eady believes in what the town is trying to do.
Gander is essentially landlocked in terms of development opportunities, and tried to make folks aware that by the town taking on this initiative, it would probably, from my perspective, it is the most accessible land to be developed to face some of these immediate challenges that we have.
Through his property management company, Eady sees renters struggling. And through his church, he sees the issues around emergency shelters and transitional housing. Things he thinks the town's green spaces could help fix.
So I envision, a place with, a basketball net in the yard, or some swings, or some, a communal fire pit, something that, whether you're, regardless of who you are, where you're from, or what your life situation is, that you can enter into that space, find a community, have a good solid space, roof over your head, and somewhere where you feel like you have a sense of community as well.
Edie is also trying to get some land in the town, unrelated to the green spaces, to build a 6-unit housing complex.
About a third of the units would be considered affordable by CMHC's guidelines. So again, from our perspective, my perspective as a new and aspiring developer, I'm able to look at this and I think the numbers make sense. So my barrier, as we've talked about, is the land acquisition. Right? If we can get the land, I firmly believe we can make some of these projects work and inject some supply that's greatly needed.
Edie has submitted his plan to the town and is now waiting for it to go through the public input stage. Troy Turner, CBC News, Gander.
Year after year, we've tried to outdo ourselves, and the students have really come to look forward to Halloween as to what kind of spectacle they're going to see.
Spectacle for sure. We'll take you to a high school that takes Halloween very seriously. That's coming up. Well, it was the first fall day with some snow on the ground across much of the island today. Here's how it looked around Manuel's River in Conception Bay South. It was a chilly morning for a walk for sure. And Ashley is here now. She's in Georgetown tonight, where a Halloween flash mob just clued up. We saw some of that a few minutes ago, but Ashley, still a few people milling about there. And you mentioned earlier that some more weather is on the way.
Yeah, it certainly looks that way. We did see our first dusting of snow, as you just mentioned, in St. John's in the higher elevations. That's where we saw most of the snow this afternoon. But let's take a look at the numbers. 11 centimeters is what officially fell at the airport. And Gander saw about 2 centimeters of snow. Now, if you take a look at what's going on, St. John's has not seen snow in October since 2007. And if you look, my graphics are not working. 1 second, let's go through this. So since 2007, we haven't seen any significant snowfall, really. And then, yeah, I can't make my way out of this one, guys. You're gonna have to come back to me because my graphics currently are not working. I'm sorry about that. But 4.5 minutes is a long time to talk without my graphics. So I'll have to get that situated and we'll have to come back.
No problem, Ashley. We will check back with you in a couple of minutes and move on to a Halloween story.
All right. Perfect.
Live television. Well, it's the spookiest day of the year, of course, Halloween. And at One Conception Bay South High School, that's a big deal. Not just the students dress up, teachers do too, and they really go all out. Just have a look.
Today, I guess you could say, is a highly anticipated day. We celebrate Halloween here. Our departments have a competition to see which teaching department has the best costume, as voted on by the students.
So why is Halloween such a big deal here?
It's really because of the teachers. They put in a lot of effort to make sure their costumes are very elaborate, and the students always look forward to coming in and seeing it.
There's a lot of competitive stress, we'll call it, where we want to win each year, and of course every department does. Hats off to the math department. Usually they go above and beyond and they keep upping the bar for the rest of us each year, and they're regular winners. But I think that there's a healthy competitive spirit amongst staff here as well, but also a creativity that we get to express ourselves as well.
We start thinking of ideas in the summertime. We're just sort of looking online, and we always try. We like to get a science idea if we can. We've dressed as a periodic table before, Star Trek, so we like a nice science theme for the students, and we just came up with this year.
It kind of spread, and year after year we've tried to outdo ourselves, and the students have really come to look forward to Halloween as to what kind of spectacle they're going to see, what kind of costumes and sets that they're going to see, and also participate themselves as well.
When you're in Villanova, you hear like the older students at Holy Spirit are getting ready for Halloween. They're always hyping it up, talking so much about what the teachers have done, and you just get so excited to become like a bigger person and grow up and get to go to Holy Spirit and experience the Halloween for yourself.
Whether you participate or not, it's still a great day where we can come together and observe how creative and how fun and how working together and what that can look like.
Wow, they weren't kidding about going all out. Ashley, you couldn't see that, but Holy Spirit High just had the best Halloween costumes there today. And you're out in Georgetown. We're going to check in with you again. Had a little bit of technical trouble a few minutes ago. How are you doing now?
Well, hopefully we'll get this up on the go. It's frozen, just like it was this morning here in St. John's. Let's try that one more time. We saw 11 centimeters of snowfall here in St. John's, at the airport, really, in the higher elevations. Here in Georgetown, not much fell at all. Actually, there's no trace of it at all at the moment. But let's take a look at those numbers. So Gander saw about 2 centimeters of snow this afternoon. Now, the old record was 5.8 centimeters in 1975 for St. John's. So we definitely broke that. And the last time we saw snow in October was 2009. And that means that basically by 2004, that was the highest snowfall we had seen. So it's been quite a while. But as I said, those temperatures this afternoon have warmed up a little bit. 2 degrees was the afternoon high today. That kind of helped melt some of the snow that did fall. But through central and the west coast, those temperatures a bit warmer, between 4 and about 7 degrees as our daytime highs. And a tad cooler up across Labrador. 0 degrees in Cartwright today and about -3 in Lab City. So if we take a look at what's going on, our weather system has moved offshore now. That's why we're seeing some much nicer weather in the wake of that. For the moment anyways, a ridge of high pressure dominates the weather for now, but things are certainly going to change as we head through the overnight, tomorrow overnight I should say, and into Thursday. So our temperatures right now, it is pretty chilly out here, about 2 degrees, wind chill feeling more like -2. So if you haven't headed outside just yet, you're certainly going to want to bundle up in layers and grab, all those warm things that we have not necessarily pulled out for a while. But Labrador, you're looking at your temperature right now in Lab City anyway, about -4 with a wind chill into the -12 degree range. And these wind chills are going to stay quite chilly through the overnight tonight as well. So your temperatures are significantly going to drop. Now, taking a look at the future tracker, there's not a whole lot on it. We are still looking at some clear skies through the night tonight. Maybe the chance of a few showers for the west coast and maybe along the south coast, but that's about it. We may see a few flurries up across western portions of Labrador as well. But for the time being, we're looking at temperatures dipping to about -11 in Lab City, minus single digits, the story for the rest of the Big Land, and across the island, well below 0 tonight, anywhere between -2 and about -6, especially in those low-lying areas. But like I said, the winds will be relatively light, not the case up across Labrador. You're looking at your winds out of the west, gusting anywhere from 50 to about 80 kilometers per hour tonight. Now, as we head into tomorrow, looking at our next weather maker moving in, it'll start clear. Clouds will be on the increase through the day. We'll start to see some of that rain move in, eventually changing to snow through parts of central. Now, eastern Newfoundland, you're going to stay in the rain section of this. It looks like at this point, which could be heavy at times through the overnight, but areas through central, the interior, you're definitely looking at some snow. And we're also looking at those winds picking up, especially as we head into the early morning hours on Thursday and through the day. So we're talking between 60 to about 70 kilometer per hour wind gusts, maybe even as high as 80. But this will continue through Thursday. Eventually we'll see that snow taper off, but that won't be until the evening hours. Now, Environment Canada does have a special weather statement in effect for areas through central. That's because that's where you're going to see the majority of the snow. We're talking about 5 to 15 centimeters possible in that white area there. Otherwise, about a trace to 5 centimeters just outside of that. Now, depending on the exact track of the system, we may see that shift a bit further east, but for now, that is what you're looking at. And as far as your forecast goes for tomorrow, temperature-wise, we're going to warm up just a little bit, anywhere from 2 to about 8 degrees as the daytime highs across the island. And then as far as Labrador is concerned, you're looking at your temperatures hovering into about the minus single digits, maybe a bit above, especially towards the southeastern portion of Labrador. But for those of you in the west, you're still looking at cool temperatures around -4 and some flurries in store. So you're going to at least sit this storm out. I don't know what's going to happen for the next ones, but we'll talk about that coming up in a little bit.
Great. Thanks so much, Ashley, and stay warm out there tonight.
Definitely.
Thursday on Here and Now, a beloved toy from back in the day is back in the spotlight. No, it's not Barbie, it's the Easy Bake Oven. This week, the Easy Bake Oven is turning 60, but our love for it is still fresh.
It's not only the toy, it's the interaction with the child.
So what's the secret ingredient to 60 years of success? That story Thursday, only on Here and Now.
Returning now to the apology tour, Premier Andrew Furey begins tomorrow in northern Labrador. The Premier is visiting 5 Inuit communities to offer apologies to residential school survivors and their families. Now, the NDP MHA representing the area says she has been excluded from the event. Leela Evans says she did not receive an invitation from the Premier's office. Here's more of what she had to say about that.
I think it's important to state that this apology is warranted for residential school survivors. But also, I hope there's an acknowledgement of the harm done and resulting intergenerational trauma that needs to be acknowledged. Regarding me being not invited by the Premier, as the elected representative for Torngat Mountains, I'm elected by the people. And so if anyone should be offended by him not including me, I think it should be the people that elected me. I know people want me to be there, and I don't want to take away from the apology, but it's really hard to reconcile. Right?
What do you make of it? Do you think that this is you weren't invited because it's a political thing, or was it an oversight? What do you think is behind that?
Well, I don't think it's an oversight, because I am the MHA for Torngat Mountains. So normally the MHA would be included in such an important occasion. So I think the Premier maybe should be the one to answer that question. But for me, it's so important, this apology. So many residential survivors have passed away. They will never ever get to hear the apology done, and they acknowledge the harms done to them. And I guess, so they'll never get to receive that apology and be able to accept that apology. So I don't want to take anything away from that. This is so important. And as you said yourself, I'm from the North Coast. I'm from Makkovik. My parents and my grandparents and all my family of that age are residential school survivors. So I want to make sure that people understand that this is an important apology.
What are your plans? Are you planning on going anyways?
Well, the fact that I wasn't invited, I think even if I tried to show up and sort of uninvited, participate, I don't think logistically I would be able to get there, which is very, very unfortunate, with the flights and things like that. So, but I want people to know that when the apology is given to them, that I will be there in spirit, and I hope that this will give them some closure. But I also want the apology to acknowledge the ongoing intergenerational trauma, the harms that were done to people, because we're not talking about adults. At the time, residential school survivors were children, and they were seriously harmed that impacted their future life and the generations that came after them. So an apology is a first step, but I'd like for the Premier to make a commitment that our residential survivors who are elders now have quality of life, that they're not continuing to be harmed by decisions made by this government.
Now, we did reach out to the Premier's office to find out why Leela Evans wasn't invited, and the Premier's office says that it didn't directly invite anyone to the apologies, no MHAs or anyone else. Now, the 3-day tour begins tomorrow in Rigolette, then travels to Postville, Makkovik, Hopedale, Nain, and finishes on Friday in Happy Valley Goose Bay. Hundreds of Canadian Forces reservists were at CFB Gagetown for what they're calling a simulated urban warfare battle. Among others, the collective exercise included every Canadian Army Reserve unit in Newfoundland. Have a look.
There's a lot of emotional tension when you're making these high pressure decisions. So you're on the radio, you're trying to communicate what's going on in an environment that there's a lot of pressure. Things can get very stressful, and when you start feeling that stress and you're trying to communicate things, it's really hard to slow it down, slow down your brain and try and communicate effectively. And the decisions that you make in those moments in a real life scenario are life-threatening.
Good eye. There's 2-2 breaching on your side. Yeah, attacking our position right now. Got it.
This morning was a simulated attack by 2 of our platoons from Newfoundland against 2 of the platoons from New Brunswick, the Royal New Brunswick Regiment and the North Shore Regiment.
So today we did an urban ops training exercise, and in that we were basically practicing all the skills that we're taught in regards to operating or fighting in an urban environment, right? In this case, we were responsible in defending a village, and so I would be assigned a building, and I'm supposed to protect this building.
These exercises are critical. It is a confirmation exercise that we can't do in the local garrisons. With all the troops there, you can't do the simulated munitions or explosives in a local town or village. So we come here to Gagetown and use the build-up facilities that are already here. And the troops need that for confirmation of the training. They've gone away for months to learn an individual skill. They need to be able to put it to practice.
We don't get very many opportunities to practice the urban settings, right? We do a lot of practice in the field and doing, digging trenches and practicing our section attacks in the field and the forest. But, the world's shifting, and there seems to be a lot more urban warfare going on across the world nowadays. So I think that the shift in focus and doing a lot more urban operations is really important.
We're taking now is the lessons learned that came from the Ukraine and other conflicts and build it into their training, so they're training in a realistic environment.
And in these simulated training scenarios, we have the artillery simulators, we have the simunition, we have potential pain if you make a mistake and you get shot by the simunition. It hurts. So you want to make good decisions, and you want to make or allow other people to make good decisions with the information that you share with them, right? So practicing these things is hugely important, because if ever, God forbid, we're in that real life scenario, right, we're ready for it.
A tailor-made attraction by quilt-loving communities. Watch Festival of Quilts, Sunday at 11:30 and Monday at 7.
Halloween was a main theme on today's St. John's Morning Show, where a scary visitor came to see host Chrissy Holmes, Jason from the movie classic Friday the 13th. Now, behind the hockey mask, a local cosplayer who spoke with Chrissy about the work that goes into dressing up as the iconic and terrifying figure.
You're checking us out on Visual Radio. Good morning. I'm kind of an interpretive dance of Jen's cool older aunt. And I guess she's, oh boy, it's one of the characters that she might run into in the 80s. Hi, there's a terrifying serial killer just hanging out here behind me. Hey, buddy. He's really got that stare down. Do you want to grab a seat?
I dress up as 6 different versions of Jason because there's been 12 different movies done by the studios. This would be based on the Freddy vs. Jason movie that came out roughly about 20 years ago when Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees face off.
Where did you come into the Jason story, and why did you need to become involved?
I remember, renting movies as a kid, and you'd go into the video store, and I wasn't old enough to rent the horror movies, but I remember seeing like Jason Takes Manhattan and the different ones on the shelf, but I wasn't allowed to rent them because I was too young.
But you wanted to.
But I wanted to. But when I started cosplaying seriously about 5 years ago, when I attended Sci-Fi in the Rock, then I really started working on the costume and getting it more accurate and getting in the latex hoods and the different masks accurate and stuff like that, ordering them online and going to Valley Village and finding different things and making them look like the movie.
There's a lot of work. Just give us a sense of how much work goes into the cosplay accuracy part.
Well, you can try to buy costumes online, but they don't look the part. Like, you can go to like the online shops and stuff, but they just kind of take a generic look and do it. If you really want to look like a certain version, you kind of got to shop around. You got to go into the thrift stores, find the right shirt or pants, and then start tearing it up. Like, I found a blue shirt, and then I tore up this part, and then I would add some blood stains and different things. And I actually had this custom made from a shop online that does horror stuff, because you're not going to find this jacket in the store. So certain parts you order, certain parts you make yourself.
Well, to the Middle East now. Israel continues to strike Gaza with air assaults and ground raids. There are reports that dozens of people were killed in a blast at a refugee camp in the north. The Hamas-run health ministry blames Israel. Israel has not yet commented. It says it hit 300 targets overnight in Gaza and that its forces fought Hamas gunmen inside the militant group's vast tunnel network. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres is calling for civilians caught in the conflict to be protected. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed yesterday to crush Hamas's ability to govern Gaza or threaten Israel. Gaza's health ministry says 8,500 Palestinians have been killed in the last 3 weeks. In Israel, over 1,400 people were killed, mainly during the initial attack by Hamas on October 7th. Well, back at home now, many people on the island got a taste of snow this morning. A good reminder that winter is just around the corner. And for all of those who haven't changed to winter tires yet, now is the time. Tomorrow is the first day studded tires are permitted in the province. And according to this expert, there are many reasons to make the switch to winter tires.
I strongly recommend winter tires. These are your lifeline. Tires are what keep you connected to the road. When you turn, you want to turn. When you stop, you want to stop. If your tire's not doing that for you, your next step is a crash. So the winter tires will be specifically designed to wick away moisture, and you see how a lot of these grooves are cut kind of at an angle and curved out. So that's going to help wick away the moisture and allow the water to be pushed away. The other side of it is you have all these little cuts and these little sipes in there. Those are designed kind of as when you push on it, each one will kind of bend over and give you a little extra traction. There's signs that you want to look at when you're looking at a tire and determining if it's usable or not. So the first thing is, if you look right around the edge around here, right around the seam around there, and sometimes in the edge right where the writing is, you want to look for that rubber being worn out, and you want to look for any weather cracks. If you have any cracking on your sidewall or anything like that, the rubber is just no good anymore. It's worn out, you don't want it any longer. Typically, most manufacturers say once a tire is 10 years old, the rubber compound just isn't very good anymore. This one in this little block says 0313. The first two numbers there, 03, that's the third week. And then the 13 is for 2013. So this tire was built in the third week of 2013. So this tire is more than 10 years old. I would not consider putting it on a vehicle. This one has a listing on the side of the tire of a mud and snow tire. So you will see M/S for mud and snow tire. Mud and snow tires are generally considered an all-season tire, where that mountain skate with a little snowflake, that's what gets you to be a winter tire. For somebody who's new to the country, perhaps never seen snow, I would 100% strongly push winter tires, because if you haven't driven in this type of weather before, it's a real eye-opener. I would do the same for a young driver. So if you have somebody 16, 17 years old, maybe have their learners, a good thing to get them in the habit of understanding the importance of winter tires and how much more traction they will give you.
Just learned a lot about winter tires. Well, the words spooky and Taylor Swift don't usually go together, but in Boston, a home is decorated for Halloween with the pop star as a theme. And no surprise, it's getting a lot of attention. Swift fans from far and wide are coming to take in the site and its impressive details. There are roses and pumpkins and golden snakes to represent one of the pop star's album's reputation. There are also some tombstones, one each dedicated to all of Swift's exes, with one already in place for her current beau, NFL player Travis Kelce. in with Ashley, who's live in Georgetown tonight. And it seems like it's been pretty busy in that neighborhood. About how many trick-or-treaters have you been seeing going around tonight?
Yeah, I was just talking to some of the neighbors around here, and they were saying that at least 150, if not more, kids have come to the door. Now, I'm sure there are lots more that were around here. They're still coming, but many people have had to turn off the lights. I guess next year people have to get a bit more candy to anticipate this. But yes, a beautiful night. It ended up turning out pretty beautiful. Yes, it is a bit chilly, but that's okay. We are looking at some warmer temperatures, though, as we look ahead to the forecast. Let's take a look at what's going on. We do have some rain on the way, especially tomorrow night and into the first half of Thursday. So we'll see that happen pretty much starting Wednesday evening. And then eventually, as we get into Thursday morning, we'll start to see some of that snow eventually make its way further east. So we're talking about the potential for parts of Central seeing somewhere between 5 to 15 centimeters of snow. Now, the Avalon and most of eastern Newfoundland, depending on the track, should stay in rain. And it could be fairly heavy at times. It could be talking about 15 to as much as 30 millimeters of rain in that time frame. And as far as the temperatures are concerned for your Thursday, you're looking at a high around 5 degrees in St. John's. The rest of the island looking anywhere from 2 to about 4 degrees. And Labrador, you're going to sit this one out. You're looking at your daytime highs in the minus single digits, about -3 for Lab City. Now, looking ahead into Friday, looks like a fairly nice start to the day anyway. The portions of the west coast, south coast may see a bit more cloud cover, and we'll see that cloud increase as we head into the afternoon and evening hours as well. Labrador, you're generally sitting this one out again. However, you will see some light snow develop as we head into the evening hours on Friday. Daytime highs will sit around 4 to 7 or 8 degrees across the island, and somewhere between 2, 3 for southeastern portions of Labrador, and about -1 and -3 through the day. Now, the long range forecast is going to warm up. We're looking at between 7 and 9 degrees as we get into the weekend. Saturday, a chance of showers. Same thing for Sunday for St. John's and eastern Newfoundland. And then for Central, you're looking at that warm up as well, similar to that. 6, 7, 8, 9 degrees through the day. And by Sunday, we're looking at a temperature around 5 degrees for St. John, or for western portions of the island. Now for Labrador, you're looking at your temperatures warming up a little bit as we get into Saturday. By Sunday, we're talking about temperatures dipping back down below 0, and will stay below 0 for western Labrador, with pretty much flurries in the forecast as the rest of the forecast goes, long-range forecast goes on. Our weather photo of the day, take a look at this one. This is a great shot of an alpaca. This is Covey making her way, or his way, around Mount Pearl. Thank you so much for that lovely shot. And if you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, you can send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Oh, I love
You're laughing,
that.
so I'm assuming you're seeing who's in my head.
Yes, that's Drizzle dressed as a honeybee. Oh, that, you know, I love a dog in a costume, but a dog in a bee costume, that's just my favorite.
Yes, she's a beagle.
Oh, yes.
She doesn't want to look at the camera. Oh, don't run away from me. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
yeah, so Drizzle wanted to come say hi. I didn't get to dress up, obviously, but she did, so she's pretty happy. She's just looking at the neighbor's dog there.
A great costume. Oh, and I love the beagle. That's just fantastic. It's always nice to see Drizzle. Do you have one for Stevie, your other beagle, as well?
I do. She's currently a ladybug, but she won't wear it, so I couldn't bring her out. She's not having it.
I get it. Makes sense. They can be fussy.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that treat. That was definitely a treat for me to see your dog there, Drizzle. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching tonight. Happy Halloween, and hope to see you again tomorrow.
Good night.